At my husband's CEO inauguration party, I found my seat outside by the trash cans. Meanwhile, his assistant sat at the head table right next to him. He smirked, "Tonight is about new beginnings, not the past." I just nodded, stood up, and walked out without a word. Minutes later, he received a call, went pale, and started screaming. The ballroom glittered with champagne flutes and congratulations. Crystal chandeliers threw fractured light across faces I'd known for 20 years. Colleagues, friends, people who'd eaten at my dinner table, who'd sent birthday cards to our daughter Emma. They all knew where I was sitting. I stood in the service corridor between the kitchen and the dumpsters, folding and refolding the placement card with my name on it. The cardstock was expensive, heavy, embossed with gold lettering. Someone had spent money to ensure I knew exactly where I belonged in Derek's new world. Not at table 1 with the board members and their spouses. Not at table 2 with the senior executives. Not even at table 8, tucked in the back corner near the restrooms. Table 9, outside, next to the industrial trash bins and the crates of empty wine bottles. Through the propped open service door, I could see inside. Derek stood at the podium, his hand resting possessively on the shoulder of his assistant, Vanessa. She wore red. Scarlet, really. The kind of dress that announced itself across a crowded room. Her hair fell in perfect waves. Her laugh carried. She sat in my seat, the seat that should have been mine, next to my husband of 23 years, on the night he became CEO of Hartwell Industries. I watched Derek lean down to whisper something in her ear. She threw her head back, laughing. Her hand found his arm, lingering. My throat closed. "Ma'am?" A young server appeared beside me, balancing a tray of dirty plates. "Are you all right? Do you need me to call someone?" I shook my head. Words felt impossible. The server hesitated, then disappeared back into the kitchen. Through the closing door, I caught a fragment of conversation. "That's the wife." Jesus Christ, I should have left then. Should have walked straight out the service exit to the parking garage, gotten in my car, and driven away. But my legs wouldn't cooperate. I stood there like an idiot, clutching my ridiculous placement card, watching my husband celebrate with another woman. Derek moved to the microphone. The room quieted. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began. His voice boomed through the speakers, confident and warm. The voice I'd fallen in love with in college. This position represents more than just professional achievement. It represents evolution, growth, the courage to embrace new directions. He paused, letting the words settle. "Tonight is about new beginnings." His smile widened. "Not the past." His eyes found mine through the doorway. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to see the deliberate cruelty in his expression. Not the past. Me. He meant me. 23 years of marriage. 20 years of supporting his career, managing his schedule, entertaining his clients. 18 years of raising our daughter while he traveled. 15 years of putting my own career on hold so he could pursue his ambitions. I was the past he was leaving behind. The room erupted in applause. Derek raised his glass. Vanessa raised hers, her other hand still on his arm. Something cold and final settled in my chest. I set the placement card on top of the nearest trash bin. Then I walked out. No dramatic exit, no tearful confrontation, no shouting or throwing things or demanding explanations. I just walked. The parking garage was concrete and fluorescent lights. My heels echoed. My hands shook so badly, it took 3 attempts to unlock my car. I sat in the driver's seat, staring at the steering wheel, trying to remember how to breathe. My phone buzzed. Emma. I stared at her name on the screen. My daughter. My brilliant, fierce, principled daughter, finishing her senior year at Berkeley. What would I even say to her? Your father just erased me in front of 200 people. I let it go to voicemail. The phone buzzed again immediately. Emma again. Then again. I turned the phone face down on the passenger seat and started the engine. I made it 3 blocks before I had to pull over. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My vision blurred. I gripped the steering wheel and tried to hold myself together, but something was breaking loose inside me. Something I'd been holding back for months, maybe years. When had I stopped being his wife and started being his inconvenience? When had I become something to hide? When had I become the past? My phone erupted with calls. Not Emma this time, unknown numbers. Then Derek's name flashing across the screen. I let it ring. It rang 12 times before going silent. 30 seconds later, it started again. I turned it off completely. The drive home took 15 minutes. I passed the restaurants where we used to celebrate anniversaries, the park where we taught Emma to ride a bike, the grocery store where I still shopped every Tuesday, buying the specific brand of coffee Derek preferred. Had he told Vanessa how he liked his coffee yet? Our house sat at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac, big, beautiful, the kind of house that announced success. I'd chosen the paint colors, planted the garden, hung every picture on every wall. It felt like a stranger's house now. I parked in the driveway and sat there, staring at the dark windows. Derek wouldn't be home for hours. He'd stay at the party, accepting congratulations, making important connections, playing the role of the newly crowned CEO, without me. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough for the motion sensor lights to turn off. Long enough for my legs to go numb. When I finally went inside, the house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I walked through the rooms like a ghost. The living room with its carefully arranged furniture. The dining room where we'd hosted dozens of dinner parties. The kitchen where I'd prepared thousands of meals. Evidence of my life. Evidence of my work. Evidence of my complete irrelevance. I poured a glass of wine and sat at the kitchen island staring at nothing. My phone sat on the counter where I'd left it, still powered off. What would happen when I turned it back on? Would Derek call with an explanation? An apology? Would he call at all? The wine tasted like ash. I dumped it down the sink and went upstairs to Emma's old room. It still smelled like her, vanilla and books. I lay down on her bed, surrounded by the posters she'd loved in high school, the trophies from debate team, the photographs of her friends. Emma would know what to do. Emma always knew what to do. But I couldn't call her. Couldn't burden her with this. Not during her final semester. Not when she was supposed to be focusing on graduation and job interviews and her future. This was my problem. My failure. I must have fallen asleep because I woke to sunlight and the sound of the front door slamming open. "Mom!" Emma's voice. I sat up, disoriented. Emma appeared in the doorway, still in her traveling clothes, her face flushed and furious. "Emma? What are you—" I saw the photos. She held up her phone. "Someone from Dad's company posted them online. The whole party, including where you were sitting." Her voice cracked. "Everyone saw, Mom. Everyone." I stared at her. My fierce, brilliant daughter. Home when she should have been in California. Standing in her childhood bedroom, shaking with rage on my behalf. "It's fine," I said automatically. "It's just a misunderstanding." The seating chart got mixed up. These things happen at big events. "Stop." Emma cut me off. "Stop defending him." She sat down next to me on the bed, pulling out her phone. "Look." The photos were everywhere. Derek at the podium, Vanessa beside him, the two of them laughing together, toasting together. And in one shot, barely visible through the service entrance, me, standing alone in the shadows. Someone had circled me in red, added an arrow, written, "CEO's wife, apparently." The comments were worse. "This is humiliating. 23 years, and this is how he treats her? Who's the woman in red?" "His assistant, Vanessa something. They're always together." My stomach dropped. "Emma, I'm so sorry. You shouldn't have seen this. You should be at school. I'm exactly where I need to be." Emma's jaw set in that stubborn way she'd had since childhood. "I'm not leaving you alone to deal with this." "There's nothing to deal with. It's just—" My phone, still sitting on the counter downstairs, began to ring. We could hear it through the floorboards. Emma and I looked at each other. "That's probably your father," I said. "Let him wait." But the ringing didn't stop. It went on and on. Different numbers, different callers. Finally, Emma went downstairs and came back with my phone. The screen showed 47 missed calls, 28 voicemails, 63 text messages. "Mom," Emma's voice was strange. "Most of these aren't from Dad." She handed me the phone. The calls were from people at Derek's company, old colleagues of mine, friends I hadn't spoken to in years. And one number I recognized immediately: Patricia Hartwell, chairwoman of the board, Derek's boss. My hands went numb. "What do they want?" Emma asked. I couldn't answer. Couldn't move. Emma took the phone back and opened the voicemails, putting one on speaker. Patricia Hartwell's crisp, professional voice filled the room. "Catherine, this is Patricia. I need to speak with you urgently about the Hawthorne merger. It's come to my attention that certain claims made regarding the negotiations may have been inaccurate. Please call me as soon as possible. We need to clarify some details before Monday's board meeting." The message ended. Emma and I stared at each other. "The Hawthorne merger?" Emma said slowly. "That's the deal that got Dad promoted, right?" I nodded, my throat tight. "Mom." Emma's eyes narrowed. What does she mean by inaccurate claims? I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, because I knew exactly what Patricia Hartwell meant. The Hawthorne merger. The deal that had been dying for 18 months. The negotiation that everyone said was impossible. The contract that had made Derek look like a miracle worker and secured his CEO position. Derek hadn't closed that deal. I had. Emma sat cross-legged on her old bed, my phone in her hands, scrolling through the messages with the single-minded focus she usually reserved for research papers. 18 calls from Patricia Hartwell, she muttered. 12 from someone named James Chen, Senior VP. 5 from, "Mom, who's Robert Thorne?" "Hartwell's legal counsel." Emma's head snapped up. "The company lawyer is calling you?" I didn't answer. My mind was still stuck on Patricia's voicemail. Inaccurate claims. She knew. Somehow Patricia knew. "Mom," Emma's voice sharpened. "What happened with the Hawthorne merger?" I stood and walked to the window. Our neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, was working in her garden. Normal Saturday morning activity. The world continuing like nothing had changed. "Catherine?" Emma only used my first name when she was serious. I turned to face her. My daughter. 21 years old and already smarter than I'd ever been. She was watching me with that analytical expression she got when she was putting pieces together. "The Hawthorne merger was dead," I said finally. Completely dead. Marcus Hawthorne refused to negotiate with anyone from Hartwell Industries. He blamed us for his brother's company going bankrupt 5 years ago. But Dad closed the deal. Your father made the final presentation. He signed the papers. He got the credit. Emma's eyes narrowed. But Marcus Hawthorne wouldn't take meetings with anyone from the company. So I reached out through personal connections. My college roommate, Claire, married Marcus's cousin. I called in every favor I had. Got Claire to arrange a dinner. Just the 4 of us. Casual, no business talk. I could still see that dinner. Claire's dining room. Marcus Hawthorne, suspicious and uncomfortable. Me, carefully not mentioning Hartwell Industries at all. Just talking about Claire's kids, Marcus's vintage car collection, anything but business. It took 4 months of dinners, lunches, coffee meetings. I never mentioned I was married to Derek. Never mentioned Hartwell at all. I just became Marcus's friend. Jesus, Mom. When I finally brought up the merger possibility, Marcus trusted me enough to listen. He agreed to negotiate, but only if I was in the room. So I was. Every meeting, every phone call, every contract revision. Emma's face had gone very still. "And Dad?" "Your father came to the final signing, shook hands, made the presentation to the board about his negotiation strategy." "His strategy?" "Yes. The strategy you executed." "Emma, did he even mention you?" Her voice was rising. "In any of it? Did he tell the board what you did?" The silence answered for me. Emma stood, pacing. So, Dad got promoted to CEO based on work you did. And now the chairwoman of the board is calling you, asking about inaccurate claims. We don't know that's what she means. Mom, stop. Emma spun to face me. Stop protecting him. Stop making excuses. He threw you out like garbage at his CEO party and took credit for your work. What part of this are you still defending? I had no answer. Emma stared at me for a long moment, then grabbed my phone. You're calling Patricia Hartwell back, right now. Emma, I can't just... Yes, you can. She thrust the phone at me. Because if you don't, I will. And I promise you, my conversation with her will be a lot less diplomatic than yours. My daughter. My fierce, principled daughter who'd inherited her father's ambition, but apparently all of my integrity. I took the phone. Patricia Hartwell answered on the second ring. Catherine, thank God. She sounded genuinely relieved. I've been trying to reach you since last night. I'm sorry, I had my phone off. I saw the photos from Derek's party. Patricia's voice cooled. That seating arrangement was inappropriate and unprofessional. I want you to know the board had no knowledge of it. Something in my chest loosened slightly. Thank you. However, that's not why I'm calling. Papers rustled on her end. We're preparing for a major expansion into the European market. The board wants to replicate the success of the Hawthorne merger. Derek has been presenting his strategy for the European negotiations. My stomach sank. But when I asked Derek for his detailed approach, the methodology seemed vague. So I called Marcus Hawthorne directly to ask about Derek's negotiation techniques. Oh God. Marcus was confused. He said he never negotiated with Derek. He said the entire merger was facilitated by Derek's wife. By you, Catherine. Emma was watching me, her expression fierce and proud. Catherine, I need to understand what actually happened with that merger. The board is considering letting Derek lead a $50 million expansion based on what we thought was his proven negotiation expertise. If that expertise doesn't exist, we need to know before we proceed. I closed my eyes. This was the moment. I could downplay my role, protect Derek, protect our marriage, protect the fiction that he was the brilliant deal maker who'd earned his CEO position. Or I could tell the truth. Emma's hand found mine and squeezed. I negotiated the Hawthorne merger, I said quietly. All of it. Derek came to the final signing. The silence on Patricia's end stretched so long, I thought the call had dropped. Patricia? I'm here. Her voice had changed, gone cold and professional. Catherine, I need you to come to the office on Monday morning. 9 a.m. Can you do that? Yes. Good. The board will want to speak with you directly. And Catherine? Don't discuss this with Derek. Not yet. She hung up. I lowered the phone slowly, my hands shaking. Emma wrapped her arms around me. You did the right thing. I just imploded your father's career. No. Emma pulled back, her eyes blazing. Dad imploded his own career when he lied to his board. You just told the truth. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Where are you? We need to talk about last night. It wasn't what it looked like. Emma read it over my shoulder and made a disgusted sound. Don't answer, she said. Not yet. But the text kept coming. Catherine, I can explain the seating situation. It was a mistake with the event planner. Vanessa felt uncomfortable at the executive table. I was just being kind. You're overreacting by leaving like that. People are talking. You're embarrassing both of us. Emma snatched my phone. He's unbelievable. He doesn't know about Patricia's call. Yet. Emma's smile was sharp. But he will on Monday. The text continued throughout the day. Derek's tone shifting from conciliatory to irritated to angry. You need to come home so we can discuss this like adults. Your dramatic exit is causing problems. The board is asking questions. Catherine, answer me. Emma and I spent Saturday sorting through boxes in the attic. My boxes. The ones I'd packed away when Derek's career took off, and we agreed I'd take a step back from my own consulting work. I found my old files. Business plans I'd written, proposals I'd drafted, letters of recommendation from clients, evidence of the career I'd built before I became Derek's wife. Mom, these are incredible. Emma was reading through a proposal I'd written 15 years ago. You are really good at this. Past tense. No. She met my eyes. You are really good at this. You just stopped doing it. We worked in silence for a while, cataloging files. Then Emma found something wedged behind a box of holiday decorations. Mom, what's this? She held up a folder. Plain manila. Unlabeled. I took it from her and opened it. Inside were printouts, emails, documents, all related to the Hawthorne merger. My correspondence with Marcus, my negotiation notes, my strategy memos, every detail of the 18 months I'd spent closing that deal. I'd kept copies, not consciously planning for anything, just documenting my work, the way I always had. This is everything, I breathed. Every meeting, every call, every detail. Emma looked at the folder, then at me. You have proof. I wasn't trying to. Mom, you have proof that you closed that deal. Dates, times, everything. My hands were shaking again. Emma, if I give this to Patricia, when? When you give this to Patricia on Monday, Dad will have to answer for lying to the board. He'll lose his job. He stole yours first. I stared at my daughter. When had she become so fierce? When had she stopped being my little girl and started being this formidable woman? He's your father, I said weakly, and you're my mother. Who taught me that integrity matters, that honesty matters, that you don't take credit for other people's work? Emma's voice cracked. He humiliated you, Mom, in front of everyone. And now you're going to let him get away with it because you're worried about protecting him? I'm worried about protecting you. If this comes out, it'll be a scandal. People will talk. It could affect your job prospects. I don't care. Emma cut me off. I don't want a job where people expect me to cover up lies and theft. If Dad built his career on stealing your work, that's on him. Not you, not me. She was right. I knew she was right. But knowing it and accepting it were different things. Sunday morning, Derek came home. I heard his car in the driveway, the slam of the door, his footsteps on the stairs. Emma and I were in the kitchen. She moved to stand beside me, her shoulder touching mine. Derek appeared in the doorway. He looked tired, disheveled, his shirt wrinkled. Catherine? His voice was careful, measured. We need to talk. Yes, I said. We do. He glanced at Emma. Privately. No. Emma crossed her arms. I'm staying. Derek's jaw tightened. Emma, this is between your mother and me. The seating chart at your party made it pretty public, Dad. That was a misunderstanding. The event coordinator put Catherine at the wrong table. It was an honest mistake. Table 9, Dad? Outside, next to the trash cans? That was an honest mistake? Derek's face flushed. The venue was crowded. We ran out of space. But Vanessa had space. At the head table, in Mom's seat. Vanessa is my assistant. She needed to be nearby for professional reasons. Mom is your wife. For 23 years. The muscle in Derek's jaw was jumping now. Emma, you don't understand the complexity of corporate events. There are politics involved, optics. Catherine understands that. Don't you, Catherine? He was looking at me now. Really looking at me. And I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Calculation. He thought I'd agree with him. Thought I'd smooth this over. Play my role. Patricia Hartwell called me, I said quietly. Derek went very still. What? She wants to meet with me tomorrow morning about the Hawthorne merger. The color drained from his face. What did you tell her? The truth. Catherine, I told her I negotiated the deal. That you came to the final signing. You what? Derek's voice rose. Do you have any idea what you've done? What I've done? Something snapped inside me. I did the work, Derek. 18 months of work. And you took credit for all of it. We're married. What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine. That's how marriage works. Not when it comes to lying to your board about your qualifications. I didn't lie. I facilitated the deal. I provided the resources. I made it possible for you to what? To save your reputation? To make you look competent? Derek's face twisted. You're really going to do this? You're going to destroy my career because of a seating chart? This isn't about the seating chart. My voice was shaking but steady. This is about you erasing me, erasing my work, my contributions, 23 years of supporting your career, and the moment you don't need me anymore, you throw me away. I never threw you away. Table 9, Derek. He flinched. Dad. Emma's voice was ice. You called Mom the past in your speech. In front of 200 people. We all heard it. Derek rounded on her. You don't understand what it takes to succeed in corporate leadership. Sometimes you have to make difficult choices about image and presentation. You mean lying. I mean strategic positioning. By claiming credit for Mom's work. Derek opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked between us, and I saw the moment he realized he'd lost us. Both of us. His expression hardened. If you go through with this meeting tomorrow, Catherine, if you undermine my position with the board, I will make sure everyone knows you're unstable, that you've been having problems, that this is all stemming from mental health issues. The room went silent. Emma's voice was barely a whisper. Did you just threaten Mom? I'm protecting our family, our reputation, our future. Derek's eyes locked on mine. Don't do this, Catherine. You'll regret it. He turned and walked out. We heard his car start, the engine rev, the sound fading down the street. Emma looked at me, her face pale. Mom, he just threatened you. I nodded slowly, something cold and final settling in my chest. Yeah, I said. He did. Emma pulled out her phone. What's the name of that lawyer Aunt Marcy recommended when her friend got divorced? Emma. Mom. She met my eyes. We're done making excuses for him. Tomorrow, you're meeting with Patricia. And then we're calling that lawyer. I looked at my daughter. My fierce, brilliant daughter who'd come home to stand beside me. Okay, I whispered. Okay. Monday morning arrived too fast. I stood in front of my closet, staring at clothes I hadn't worn in years. Professional clothes. Power suits from my consulting days. Most of them didn't fit anymore. I'd gained weight. Or maybe I'd just gotten older. Or maybe I'd just stopped mattering enough to maintain the version of myself who wore these clothes. Mom? Emma appeared in the doorway, holding a garment bag. I grabbed this from the dry cleaner last week. Your navy suit. You had it cleaned after Aunt Julie's wedding, but never picked it up. The suit fit. Barely. But it fit. I looked at myself in the mirror. A woman I barely recognized stared back. Professional. Put together. Not the invisible wife who'd been seated by the trash cans. Emma stood behind me, fixing my collar. You look like you. I don't remember who that is anymore. Then it's time to remember. The drive to Hartwell Industries took 20 minutes. I'd been to this building dozens of times. Company parties, holiday events, always as Derek's wife. Derek's +1. Never as myself. Patricia Hartwell's assistant met me in the lobby, young woman, professional. She smiled politely and led me to the executive floor. Patricia's office occupied the corner of the building. Floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the city, the kind of office that announced importance. She stood when I entered. Late 50s, silver hair cut sharp, suit that probably cost more than my car payment. She'd always intimidated me, still did. Catherine, thank you for coming. She gestured to the conference table. Please sit. 2 other people sat at the table. James Chen, Senior VP of Operations, and Robert Thorne, Legal Counsel. My stomach dropped. I know this seems formal, Patricia said, reading my expression, but given the circumstances, the board wants a clear record of this conversation. Am I in trouble? No. Patricia's voice was firm. You're not, but we need to understand exactly what happened with the Hawthorne merger. Derek has made certain claims to the board, claims that don't align with what Marcus Hawthorne told me. We need clarification. I looked at the 3 of them. These people held Derek's career in their hands. My marriage, my future. Tell the truth, Emma had said. I pulled the manila folder from my bag. I have documentation of the entire negotiation process. Robert Thorne leaned forward. What kind of documentation? Emails, meeting notes, my personal records of every interaction with Marcus Hawthorne from initial contact through the contract signing. I slid the folder across the table. Patricia opened it, started reading. Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. She passed pages to James and Robert. The three of them read in silence. The clock on the wall ticked. 60 seconds, 90, 2 minutes. Finally, Patricia looked up. You initiated contact with Marcus Hawthorne through your college roommate. Yes? You arranged the initial meeting, casual dinner, no mention of business. Yes. You cultivated a personal relationship with him over 4 months before introducing the possibility of merger negotiations. Yes. You attended every negotiation meeting. You're copied on every email regarding contract terms. You drafted the final proposal that Marcus accepted. I nodded. James Chen spoke for the first time. Where was Derek during this process? Derek was traveling, managing other accounts. He was aware I was working on the Hawthorne situation, but he was focused on his other responsibilities. Did he attend any of the negotiation meetings? No. Did he speak with Marcus Hawthorne at all before the final signing? No. Robert Thorne made a note. But Derek presented the merger to the board as his achievement. Yes. Did you ever correct that misrepresentation? I hesitated. No. Why not? Because... I took a breath. Because Derek is my husband. Because I wanted to support his career. Because I thought we were a team. Patricia's expression softened slightly. Catherine, I need to ask you this directly. Did Derek know you were the primary negotiator on this deal? Yes. Did he ask you not to disclose that to the board? I thought back. Tried to remember. Derek's excitement when Marcus agreed to negotiate. His careful questions about how I'd managed it. His presentation to the board focusing on strategic relationship building without mentioning who had built those relationships. He never explicitly asked me to stay silent, I said slowly, but he never corrected anyone's assumptions either. And when people congratulated him, he accepted it. When the board praised his negotiation skills, he thanked them. So he allowed the board to believe he had capabilities he doesn't actually possess, Robert said flatly. Yes, I suppose so. Patricia closed the folder. Catherine, the board is considering a $50 million European expansion. Derek has proposed leading the negotiations personally, based on his proven track record with difficult international deals, specifically the Hawthorne merger. My stomach clenched. If Derek doesn't actually have the skills to execute negotiations of this complexity, we need to know that before we commit $50 million and 2 years of company resources. I understand. The board will need to review this information. We'll need to speak with Derek. Patricia paused. This may result in changes to his position. You mean he might lose the CEO role? That will be the board's decision. I sat back in my chair. This was real. This was happening. I'd just ended my husband's career. There's one more thing, Patricia said carefully. The board would like to discuss your potential involvement in the European expansion. I blinked. What? You successfully negotiated an impossible deal. You have demonstrated skills in relationship building and complex negotiations. We'd like to explore hiring you as a consultant for the European project. The room tilted slightly. I don't understand. James Chen smiled. You're good at this, Catherine. Really good. Your documentation here is thorough and professional. The strategy you employed with Marcus Hawthorne was sophisticated. These are valuable skills. But I've been out of the consulting field for years. Skills like yours don't disappear, Patricia said. They've been underutilized. Would you be interested in meeting with us again to discuss the scope of the European project? I stared at her. At all of them. They were offering me a job. A real job. Based on my own merit. I need to think about it, I managed. Of course, take your time. Patricia stood, extending her hand. Thank you for your honesty, Catherine. I know this couldn't have been easy. I shook her hand and left. In the elevator, my phone buzzed. Text from Emma. How did it go? I stared at the message, not sure how to answer. I just destroyed my husband's career. And possibly started my own. I made it to my car before the shaking started. Sat in the parking garage, gripping the steering wheel, trying to process what had just happened. My phone rang. Derek. I stared at his name on the screen. He didn't know yet, didn't know about the meeting, didn't know the board had my documentation, didn't know his entire CEO position was about to collapse. I answered. Catherine? His voice was tight, controlled. We need to talk. Can you come home? I'm downtown. Then I'll come to you. Where are you? Derek, please. I was out of line yesterday. I shouldn't have said those things. I want to apologize properly. I close my eyes. 23 years of marriage. 23 years of building a life together. I'm at Hartwell Industries, I said quietly. Silence. Why? Patricia Hartwell asked me to come in. To discuss the Hawthorne merger. More silence. Then, what did you tell them? The truth. Catherine, what did you do? I answered their questions honestly. About my role in the negotiations. Jesus Christ. His voice rose. Do you understand what you've done? They're going to think I lied to them. You did lie to them. I didn't lie. I just didn't correct their assumptions. That's lying, Derek. We're married. Your work is my work. Not when you present it to your board as evidence of capabilities you don't have. Silence. When Derek spoke again, his voice was cold, calculated. I'm filing for divorce, Catherine. The words hit like a physical blow. What? This marriage is over. You've proven you're not a partner. You're a saboteur. My lawyer will contact you this week. Derek, and don't think you're getting half of everything. You've contributed nothing to this marriage except holding me back. My lawyer will make sure the settlement reflects that. He hung up. I sat in my car, staring at the phone. He'd beaten me to it. I'd been planning to call the divorce lawyer Emma found, but Derek had moved first. My phone buzzed. Email from an address I didn't recognize. I opened it. Divorce papers, already drafted, already filed. I scrolled through the document, asset division, property claims, spousal support. Derek was offering me almost nothing. The house was listed as his separate property. Our savings accounts were listed as his separate property. Even my car was listed as a marital asset subject to division, which somehow meant I'd get less than half its value. At the bottom, a note from his lawyer. Mrs. Hartwell will receive a generous settlement reflecting her contributions to the marriage. As Mr. Hartwell was the primary earner and Mrs. Hartwell did not maintain employment, the division reflects standard California law regarding non-working spouses. Non-working spouse. I'd negotiated the deal that made him CEO. I'd supported his career for 23 years. I'd raised our daughter while he traveled. I'd managed our home, our social calendar, his professional network. Non-working spouse. Something cold and hard formed in my chest. I forwarded the email to Emma, then called the lawyer she'd recommended. Sarah Martinez answered on the third ring. Ms. Martinez speaking? My name is Catherine Hartwell. My husband just filed for divorce. I need representation. Of course. Can you tell me a little about your situation? I looked at the divorce papers on my phone, looked up at the Hartwell Industries building. Thought about the manila folder I'd just given to Patricia. It's complicated, I said, but I have documentation. Sarah Martinez's office was small but professional. Degrees on the wall, plants on the windowsill, the kind of space that felt both competent and compassionate. She read through Derek's divorce filing with a neutral expression that must have taken years to perfect. Non-working spouse, she said finally. Interesting claim. Given that you're sitting in my office on a Tuesday morning instead of being at home, since apparently you don't work. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Sarah set the papers aside. Tell me about your marriage. Assets, income, contributions, everything, I told her. 23 years condensed into 30 minutes. Derek's career trajectory, my decision to step back from consulting, Emma's childhood, the Hawthorne merger, the CEO party. Sarah took notes, her expression never changing. When I finished, she sat back. Do you have documentation of your work on the Hawthorne merger? I gave copies to the Hartwell board yesterday. but I have the originals. At home. Get them. Today. Make multiple copies. Store them somewhere Derek doesn't have access. You think he'll try to destroy them? I think he's claiming you're a non-working spouse while simultaneously being fired for taking credit for your work. He's going to be desperate. The word fired hit me in the chest. He's getting fired? Based on what you've told me about the board meeting, yes. Almost certainly. And when that happens, he's going to fight hard to keep as much as he can. Sarah pulled out a legal pad. Let's talk about assets. You said the house is in both your names? Yes. We bought it together 15 years ago. Savings accounts? Joint accounts. But Derek manages them. Retirement accounts? Derek has a 401k through Hartwell. I have a small IRA from before Emma was born. Investment accounts? Stock options? Derek has stock options from Hartwell. A lot of them. They vested when he became CEO. Sarah made a note. Those were granted during the marriage, using work that you performed. We can argue they're marital property subject to division. Derek says I contributed nothing. Derek is wrong, and we're going to prove it. She looked up. How long can you stay with Emma? I don't want you going back to the house until we know what we're dealing with. I'm not leaving my home. Catherine, it's my house. I chose the paint colors. I planted the garden. I'm not abandoning it because Derek decided to rewrite history. Sarah studied me for a moment, then nodded. Okay, but change the locks, today, and document everything. If Derek removes anything from the house, I need to know immediately. I left her office with a list of tasks. Change locks, copy documents, photograph valuable items, open my own bank account, cancel joint credit cards, steps to untangle 23 years of shared life. Emma was waiting in the car. How bad? I'm changing the locks. Good. She started the engine. Where to first? We stopped at the bank. I opened a new account in my name only. Transferred half the money from our joint savings. My hands shook signing the paperwork. 23 years, and this is what it came down to. Dividing bank accounts. Calculating percentages. Next stop, locksmith. The technician arrived at the house within an hour. Changed all the exterior locks, programmed new garage door codes. Do you want to change the security system password too? He asked. I hadn't thought of that. Yes. Please. Derek's key wouldn't work anymore. Derek's codes wouldn't work anymore. Derek couldn't come home. Emma and I spent the afternoon photographing everything in the house. Furniture, art, electronics, dishes, every item that might be disputed in divorce court. It felt surreal, clinical, reducing a marriage to an inventory list. We were in Derek's study when Emma found the safe. Mom, did you know about this? Behind a panel in the bookshelf, small digital safe. I'd never seen it before. I didn't know that was there. Emma tried the handle, locked obviously. What do you think he's hiding? I don't know. Should we try to open it? It's his property. We can't just... My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Hartwell? This is Patricia Hartwell. Do you have a moment? I stepped out of the study, my heart racing. Yes, of course. The board met this morning. We've reviewed your documentation regarding the Hawthorne merger. She paused. Catherine, we're placing Derek on administrative leave pending a full investigation into his misrepresentation of his qualifications. I see. We're also asking him to return any bonuses or stock options that were granted based on the Hawthorne deal until we determine appropriate attribution. The stock options. The ones Derek claimed were his separate property in the divorce filing. How much are we talking about? Approximately $1.2 million in vested options, plus a $300,000 performance bonus. I sat down heavily on the stairs. Catherine, are you there? I'm here. That's a lot of money. Yes. And it should have been granted to you, or at minimum, split between you and Derek. Patricia's voice softened slightly. The board is prepared to offer you a consulting contract for the European expansion. 18 months, $180,000 annually plus performance bonuses. Are you interested? $180,000. I'd been living on Derek's income for 20 years. Dependent. The non-working spouse. And now someone was offering me $180,000 a year. Yes, I said, I'm interested. Excellent. Our legal team will draft a contract. We'll schedule a meeting next week to discuss the project scope. She paused. Catherine, I'm sorry about the situation with Derek. The board had no idea that he'd misrepresented his role in the Hawthorne deal. If we'd known, we never would have promoted him to CEO. It's not your fault. Nevertheless, the company failed you. We should have verified his claims. We should have asked more questions. After she hung up, I sat on the stairs, staring at nothing. Emma found me there. Mom, who was that? Patricia Hartwell. Derek's on administrative leave, and they offered me a consulting contract. $180,000 a year. Emma's face lit up. Mom, that's incredible. They're also asking Derek to return $1.2 million in stock options. Her smile faded. Oh, that's the money he claimed was his separate property in the divorce. But it's not. It's compensation for your work. A court would have to decide that. Emma sat down next to me. How do you feel? I don't know. I looked at her. I think I just ended our financial security. Derek's income was how we paid for everything. The house, your college, our life. Mom, he was going to end your financial security anyway. He offered you almost nothing in the divorce. She was right. Derek had already tried to cut me out. I'd just beaten him to it. My phone rang again. Derek this time. I answered. You destroyed me. His voice shook with rage. The board just put me on administrative leave. They're taking back my stock options. They're investigating me like I'm some kind of criminal. All because you couldn't let me have this one thing. Derek, 23 years, Catherine. 23 years I've supported you. Given you a home, a life. And this is how you repay me? You took credit for my work. I gave you the opportunity to do that work. You think Marcus Hawthorne would have even talked to you if you weren't married to me? If you didn't have access to my resources? My reputation? Your reputation that I built. You built nothing. You rode my coattails for 2 decades. Emma grabbed the phone from me and put it on speaker. And now you're trying to steal my compensation. My stock options, money I earned, money Mom earned. Emma's voice was ice. For work she did, while you took credit. Emma. Derek's voice shifted, trying for warmth. Honey, you don't understand what's happening here. Your mother is having some kind of breakdown. She's not thinking clearly. Mom is thinking more clearly than she has in years. She's turning you against me. Can't you see that? She's poisoning you. No, Dad. You poisoned yourself. When you seated Mom by the trash cans, when you lied to your board, when you threatened her, when you filed for divorce, offering her nothing. Silence. Emma, I'm your father. And Mom is my mother. The one who was actually there. The one who raised me while you were traveling. The one who taught me that integrity matters. If she had integrity, she wouldn't be destroying my career. You destroyed your own career when you lied. I didn't lie. You let people believe you had skills you don't have. That's lying, Dad. Derek's voice went cold. You're cut off, both of you. I'm not paying for your final semester. I'm not paying for this house. I'm not paying for anything until Catherine stops this insanity. Good thing Mom just got a consulting contract then, Emma said sweetly, for $180,000 a year. The silence that followed was absolute. What? Derek finally said. Hartwell Industries offered her a job. Seems they value her actual skills more than your stolen credit. That's not possible. It's already done, so you can keep your money, Dad. We don't need it. She hung up. We sat there in silence. Emma, your college. I have loans and scholarships, and now you have income. She turned to me. We're going to be fine, Mom. He's your father. He was my father. Before he decided his image mattered more than his family. Her voice cracked. I'm proud of you, you know, for telling the truth, for standing up for yourself. I pulled her into a hug, and we sat on the stairs, holding each other while our family fell apart. That night, Derek tried to come home. Emma and I were in the kitchen when we heard his car in the driveway, the slam of his door, his footsteps on the porch, then the rattle of keys in a lock that no longer worked. Catherine! He pounded on the door. Let me in! This is my house! Emma moved toward the door, but I stopped her. Call the police, I said quietly. Mom, call them. He's not supposed to be here. Sarah Martinez had filed a temporary restraining order that afternoon. Derek had been served at work. He knew he wasn't allowed at the house. The pounding continued. "Catherine, don't do this. We can work this out. Just let me in so we can talk." Emma called 911, her voice shaking. I stood in the hallway listening to my husband of 23 years scream through the door he'd walked through thousands of times. "You can't keep me out of my own home. This is insane. I'm not leaving until you talk to me." The police arrived in 8 minutes. I watched through the window as they spoke with Derek, showed him the restraining order, explained that he needed to leave. Derek pointed at the house, at me watching through the window. His face was red, furious. One officer's hand moved to his belt. Derek seemed to realize how close he was to being arrested. He got back in his car, but before he drove away, he looked directly at me through the window. His expression promised this wasn't over. The next 2 weeks blurred together. Meetings with Sarah Martinez, negotiations with Derek's lawyer, court filings, discovery requests. And through it all, Emma stayed with me. Should have been finishing her final semester at Berkeley. Instead, she'd taken a leave of absence to help me through the divorce. "I can't let you do this," I told her for the 100th time. "You're so close to graduating." "I'll graduate next semester." Family emergency is a valid reason for medical leave. Emma, "Mom, Dad is trying to claim you're mentally unstable, that you contributed nothing to the marriage, that you're inventing your role in the Hawthorne merger." Her eyes flashed. "I'm not leaving you to face that alone." Derek's legal strategy had become clear quickly. He was claiming I was having a breakdown, that my accusations about the Hawthorne merger were delusions, that I needed psychiatric evaluation. His lawyer had submitted a motion requesting I undergo mental health screening before the divorce could proceed. "It's a common intimidation tactic," Sarah assured me, "especially in divorces where the wife is challenging the husband's version of the events. The judge won't grant it." But it still stung. 23 years of marriage, and Derek was willing to call me crazy to protect himself. The Hartwell Industries investigation concluded. The board found Derek had materially misrepresented his qualifications and contributions. He was formally terminated as CEO. The news made the business section of the paper. Reporters called. I didn't answer. Derek lost the CEO position, lost the stock options, lost the performance bonus, and blamed me for all of it. His lawyer filed an emergency motion claiming I'd sabotaged Derek's career and should be held liable for his lost income. "Also not going anywhere," Sarah said. "You can't be sued for telling the truth to someone's employer." But the motions kept coming. Derek fighting for every asset, every dollar, every scrap of our shared life. He wanted the house, claimed he'd paid the down payment with premarital funds. He wanted the car, claimed it was a gift from him to me, not marital property. He wanted the furniture, claimed I'd contributed nothing to purchasing it. "He's trying to wear you down," Sarah explained, "hoping you'll settle just to make it stop." But I didn't settle, because Emma was right. I'd spent 23 years making myself smaller, making excuses, protecting Derek's ego. I was done. My first meeting with the Hartwell Industries team for the European expansion happened 3 weeks after Derek's termination. Patricia Hartwell introduced me to the team. 12 people, all senior executives, all watching me with careful curiosity. The wife who'd destroyed their former CEO. "Thank you all for being here," Patricia began. "As you know, we're pursuing expansion into the European market. Specifically, we're targeting partnerships with 3 key manufacturers in Germany, France, and Italy." She pulled up a presentation. "These are family-owned businesses. They've resisted acquisition or partnership offers from American companies for decades. We need someone who can build genuine relationships, someone who can navigate complex family dynamics and cultural differences." She turned to me. "That's where Catherine comes in." 12 pairs of eyes focused on me. Catherine successfully negotiated our merger with Hawthorne Industries, which everyone in this industry considered impossible. She did it by building trust over months of careful relationship development. That's the approach we need for Europe. James Chen spoke up. Catherine, can you walk us through your strategy for the Hawthorne deal? Specifically, how you identified the right approach for Marcus Hawthorne? I stood, moving to the front of the room. Public speaking used to terrify me, but I'd been teaching myself not to be afraid anymore. Marcus Hawthorne wasn't rejecting partnership offers because they weren't profitable, I said. He was rejecting them because he didn't trust American corporations after what happened to his brother's company. I pulled up my own presentation. I'd spent 3 days preparing it, so I didn't approach him as a corporation. I approached him as a person. Through personal connections, through shared relationships, I spent 4 months learning about him, his values, his concerns, his goals. I clicked to the next slide. By the time I mentioned a potential partnership, he already trusted me, and trust was what closed the deal. I walked them through the entire negotiation, every step, every decision point, every moment where I'd chosen relationship over hard sell. When I finished, the room was silent. Then James Chen started clapping. The others joined in. Patricia was smiling. Questions? Hands went up. They spent the next hour asking about my methodology, my research process, my relationship-building techniques. I answered every question, confident, clear, expert. This was my work, my expertise, my value. After the meeting, Patricia pulled me aside. That was excellent, Catherine. The team is excited to work with you. Thank you. I heard Derek is fighting the divorce. I nodded, surprised she knew. Corporate divorces get messy, especially when careers implode in the process. Patricia's expression was kind. If you need anything, flexibility with your schedule, recommendation letters for court, character references, let me know. I appreciate that. You earned this position on your merit. Derek's actions don't change your value to this company. She paused. Don't let him convince you otherwise. I left the meeting feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. That evening, Emma and I celebrated with takeout Chinese food and cheap wine. Mom, you were amazing today. I could tell from your texts. It felt good, really good. I sipped my wine. I forgot how much I loved this kind of work. You should never have stopped. I thought I was supporting your father's career. You were, but you were also erasing yourself. She was right. I'd been erasing myself for years, until there was almost nothing left. My phone buzzed. Text from Sarah Martinez. Derek's lawyer just sent new settlement offer. Better than the first, but still inadequate. Call me tomorrow. I showed Emma the text. Is he running out of money? She asked. Probably. No job. Legal fees. He's been staying at the Marriott downtown. Good. Emma's expression was fierce. Let him see what it's like to lose everything. But I didn't feel vindictive, just tired. I don't want to destroy him, Em. I just want what's fair. Fair would be him admitting what he did, apologizing, taking responsibility. That's not going to happen. Then fair is you getting half of everything, and him learning that actions have consequences. Another text. This one from an unknown number. Catherine, this is Vanessa, Derek's former assistant. Can we talk? I stared at the message. Vanessa. The woman in the red dress. The woman who'd sat in my seat at the CEO party. Mom, what's wrong? I showed her the text. Emma's eyes widened. What does she want? I don't know. Are you going to answer? I thought about it. Vanessa had been part of Derek's public humiliation of me. She'd laughed at his jokes, touched his arm, played her role in his performance. But she'd also resigned from Hartwell right after Derek's suspension. Yes, I said. I'm going to answer. I called the number. Vanessa answered immediately. Catherine, thank you for calling back. I wasn't sure you would. What do you want, Vanessa? I want to apologize. And I want to tell you what really happened. I know what happened. I was there. No, you know what you saw. But you don't know what Derek told me. She took a breath. He told me you were separated, that the divorce was already in progress, that you'd agreed to keep up appearances until after his promotion. I went very still. What? He said you were struggling with depression, that you wanted to step back from public events, that you'd asked him to bring me to company functions so he wouldn't have to appear alone. That's not true. None of that is true. I know that now, but I didn't know it then. Vanessa's voice shook. Catherine, I'm so sorry. I thought I was helping. Thought I was supporting my boss through a difficult transition. I had no idea he was lying. Emma was watching me, her expression intense. The seating chart, I said slowly. Was that your idea? God, no. I didn't even know about it until the event started. When I saw where you were seated, I tried to find the event coordinator to fix it, but Derek stopped me. He said you preferred being away from the crowd, that you'd specifically requested a quiet spot. My hands were shaking. Why are you telling me this now? Because Derek called me yesterday. He wants me to testify in your divorce proceedings. He wants me to say that you are unstable, that you are jealous of our professional relationship, that you sabotaged his career out of spite. And will you? No. Vanessa's voice was firm. I'll testify to exactly what I just told you, that Derek lied to me, used me, manipulated both of us. I closed my eyes. Thank you. I'm sorry, Catherine, for all of it. I should have asked more questions. Should have verified what Derek told me. After we hung up, I sat there, processing. Derek had been planning this for months. The separation story, the depressed wife narrative, using Vanessa to make me look irrelevant, all calculated, all deliberate. Mom? Emma's voice was gentle. What did she say? I told her. Emma's face went white with rage. He told her you were separated? That you wanted him to bring her to events? Apparently. Mom, that's sociopathic. That's desperate. Are you defending him? No. I'm understanding him. I looked at my daughter. Your father was terrified of being exposed, of people realizing he didn't earn his success. So he created a narrative where I was the problem, where I was unstable and jealous and couldn't be trusted. So when you told the truth about the Hawthorne merger, it destroyed the story he'd been building, made him look like a liar instead of a victim. Emma was quiet for a moment. Vanessa's testimony will help your case. Yes. Dad's going to be furious. Yes. Good. Emma's smile was sharp. Let him be furious. Let him see what happens when you underestimate the women around you. The divorce mediation was scheduled for the following week. Both lawyers, both parties. A neutral mediator trying to find settlement terms we could both accept. I didn't want to see Derek. Hadn't seen him since the night he tried to break into the house. But Sarah said mediation was required before we could proceed to trial. Wear something professional, she advised. Project confidence. Don't let him see you rattled. I wore my navy suit, the one Emma had rescued from the dry cleaner. My armor. Derek was already in the conference room when I arrived. He looked diminished somehow, smaller. His suit was wrinkled. He needed a haircut. He looked up when I entered. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Regret? Grief? Then his expression hardened. We sat on opposite sides of the conference table, lawyers between us. The mediator, a tired-looking woman in her 60s, at the head of the table. Thank you both for being here, she began. The goal of this mediation is to reach an agreement on asset division, spousal support, and any other outstanding issues. Let's start with, I want the house, Derek interrupted. The mediator blinked. Mr. Hartwell, let's follow the process. The house is mine. I paid for it. I maintained it. She can't just steal it. Sarah leaned forward. The house is marital property, purchased during the marriage with marital funds. I was the only one earning marital funds. Because my client was supporting your career, raising your daughter, managing your household. She was living off my income like a parasite. The mediator raised her hand. Mr. Hartwell, that language is not productive. But Derek was on a roll. 23 years I supported her, gave her everything. And the moment I achieve success, she tries to destroy me, claims she did my work, turns my own company against me, poisons my daughter. I didn't poison anyone, I said quietly. Derek's eyes locked on mine. You turned Emma against me. No, Derek, You did that yourself. When you threatened me. When you called me unstable. When you tried to erase my contributions to our marriage. Contributions? What contributions? You stayed home. You spent my money. You rode my success. I negotiated the deal that made you CEO. You had coffee with some people. That's not negotiating. Sarah slid a document across the table. This is a signed affidavit from Marcus Hawthorne. He states explicitly that Catherine Hartwell was the sole negotiator for the Hawthorne merger, that Derek Hartwell attended only the final signing. Derek's lawyer read it, his expression carefully neutral. This doesn't prove anything, Derek said. Catherine has obviously manipulated. We also have an affidavit from Vanessa Richards, Sarah continued. Your former assistant. She states that you told her Catherine was separated from you, that Catherine was struggling with mental health issues, that Catherine had requested Vanessa attend company events in her place. Derek went very still. Ms. Richards states that all of this was false, that you deliberately misrepresented your marriage to justify excluding Catherine from professional events. Vanessa's lying. She's angry I didn't promote her. We have emails, Mr. Hartwell, between you and Ms. Richards, discussing Catherine's supposed separation and depression, none of which was true. Derek's face had gone pale. His lawyer leaned over, whispering urgently. The mediator cleared her throat. Perhaps we should take a break. Give both parties time to review the affidavits and discuss options with counsel. We reconvened 30 minutes later. Derek's lawyer spoke first. My client is prepared to offer a revised settlement. The house will be sold, proceeds split evenly, savings accounts split evenly. Mr. Hartwell will retain his personal retirement account. Mrs. Hartwell will retain hers. No spousal support in either direction. Sarah looked at me. I nodded. Accepted, she said, with one addition. Mr. Hartwell will provide a written statement acknowledging Catherine Hartwell's role in the Hawthorne merger negotiations. Said statement to be included in divorce records. Derek's lawyer shook his head. My client won't agree. Then we'll see you in court, Sarah said pleasantly, where Ms. Richards will testify, where Mr. Hawthorne will testify, where the Hartwell Industries Board will testify, and where a judge will decide how much of Mr. Hartwell's remaining assets should be awarded to Catherine for theft of intellectual property. The color drained from Derek's lawyer's face. Another whispered consultation. We'll agree to the statement. I sat back in my chair, something releasing in my chest. It was over. The mediator drafted the agreement. Both lawyers reviewed it. Both parties signed. Just like that, 23 years of marriage reduced to 6 pages of legal text. Derek stood to leave, paused at the door. I hope you're happy, Catherine. You got what you wanted. I looked at him, really looked at him. This man I'd loved for 23 years. This stranger who tried to erase me. I didn't want this, Derek. I wanted a partner. Someone who valued me. Someone who saw me. I did see you. No, you saw what I could do for you. That's not the same thing. He left without another word. Sarah touched my shoulder. You did well? It doesn't feel like winning. No, but it's justice. And sometimes that's enough. 6 months later, I stood in the Frankfurt airport, waiting for my contact from Schneider Manufacturing. The European expansion was underway. 3 potential partnerships. 6 months of relationship building ahead of me. I'd sold the house, split the proceeds with Derek, bought a small condo downtown. Modern, minimalist, mine. Emma had returned to Berkeley, finished her final semester, graduated with honors. She'd accepted a job in San Francisco, starting in 2 weeks. My fierce, brilliant daughter, who'd stood beside me when everything fell apart. Derek had moved to Chicago, taken a VP position at a smaller firm. We didn't speak. Probably never would again. The divorce had been finalized 3 months ago. I'd kept my married name, not for Derek, but because it was my name too, my identity. 23 years of being Catherine Hartwell didn't disappear just because the marriage ended. Mrs. Hartwell? I turned. A woman in her 50s, professional suit, warm smile. I'm Greta Schneider. Welcome to Frankfurt. We shook hands. Thank you for meeting me. Of course, my father is looking forward to speaking with you, though I'll warn you, he's skeptical of American companies. I understand. That's why I'm here, to listen first, to understand what your family needs before discussing what Hartwell Industries can offer. Greta's smile widened. I think you and I will get along well. The meeting with Hermann Schneider lasted 3 hours. We didn't discuss business. We discussed his family's history, the company his grandfather had founded, the values they'd maintained for 4 generations. I listened, asked questions, took notes. By the end, Hermann was smiling. You are different from other American business people, he said in careful English. How so? You listen. You don't assume you know what we need. You ask. Because I don't know what you need. Not yet. But I'd like to learn. He nodded slowly. We will talk again, Mrs. Hartwell. Next week. Bring your proposals then. But today, you have made a good beginning. Greta walked me out. He likes you, she said. That's rare. I hope so. This partnership would be valuable for both our companies. May I ask you something personal? I nodded. The news articles about your divorce, they said your husband took credit for your work. Is that true? I hesitated, then nodded. Yes. And you exposed him. I told the truth. I didn't intend to expose him, but yes. And Greta studied me. That took courage. Many women would have stayed silent. I stayed silent for 23 years. I'm done being silent, she smiled. Good. The business world needs more women who refuse to be silent. The negotiation took 4 months. Careful relationship building, cultural navigation, family dynamics, but in the end, Schneider Manufacturing agreed to partner with Hartwell Industries. Patricia Hartwell flew to Frankfurt for the signing. Excellent work, Catherine, she said over dinner. The board is extremely pleased. Thank you. We'd like to discuss extending your consulting contract. The French and Italian negotiations are next. But we're also considering other difficult partnerships, companies that need your particular approach. I'd be interested. There's one more thing. Patricia set down her wine glass. The board would like to offer you a permanent position. VP of Strategic Partnerships, based in our San Francisco office. Full benefits, stock options, the works? I stared at her. You don't have to decide now. Think about it. But Catherine, you've proven your value. We want you on the team. Permanently. That night, I called Emma from my hotel room. They offered me a VP position. Emma screamed so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Mom, that's incredible. Are you taking it? I don't know. It's a big commitment. It's also recognition. Official recognition that you're brilliant at this. What if I fail? What if you succeed? Emma's voice softened. Mom, you spent 23 years making yourself smaller for Dad. Don't do that anymore. Don't shrink yourself because you're afraid of taking up space. She was right. I'd been shrinking myself for so long, I'd forgotten how to be full-sized. I'll think about it, I said. Think fast. I start my job in San Francisco next month. It would be nice to have you nearby. After we hung up, I stood at the hotel window looking out at Frankfurt's skyline. A year ago, I'd been the invisible wife, the non-working spouse, the woman seated by the trash cans at her husband's triumph. Now I was Catherine Hartwell, consultant, negotiator, soon-to-be VP of Strategic Partnerships. I'd lost my marriage, lost the life I'd built for 23 years. But I'd found myself. My phone buzzed. Text from Patricia. Forgot to mention, your performance bonus for the Schneider deal is $75,000. Well earned. I sat down on the hotel bed, staring at the message. $75,000. For 4 months of work. More money than I'd earned in the last decade combined. Not Derek's money, not marital funds, not dependent on anyone but myself. Mine. Another text. This one from Emma. So proud of you, Mom. Dad never deserved you. I smiled, tears blurring my vision. No. Derek never had deserved me. But I was done worrying about Derek's opinions, Derek's validation, Derek's version of who I was supposed to be. I was writing my own story now. 3 weeks later, I was back in San Francisco. Emma and I had brunch at a cafe near her new apartment. So? she demanded. Did you decide? Are you taking the VP position? I'm taking it. Emma threw her arms around me. Yes, Mom, this is perfect. You'll be amazing. I'm terrified. Good. That means it matters. She pulled back, grinning. When do you start? 2 months. They're setting up the new office. And you'll be based in San Francisco? Yes. So we'll both be here, starting our new lives. I looked at my daughter. My brilliant, fierce daughter who'd stood by me when everything collapsed. Thank you, I said quietly, for coming home, for staying with me through the divorce, for believing me when I told the truth. Always, Mom. Always. We spent the afternoon apartment hunting for me, looking at condos, discussing neighborhoods, planning our new lives in the same city. For the first time in years, I felt light, free. That evening, Emma and I walked along the waterfront. Do you ever regret it? She asked, telling us the truth about the Hawthorne merger? If you'd stayed quiet, you and Dad might still be together. I thought about it, really thought about it. No, I said finally. If we were still together, I'd still be invisible. Still be erasing myself. Still be living his version of my life. And now? Now I'm living my version. It's scarier, harder, but it's mine. Emma linked her arm through mine. Good. We walked in the silence for a while, watching the sun set over the bay. Mom, Emma said quietly, I'm proud of you, not just for the job, but for standing up for yourself, for refusing to stay quiet. I learned from you, I said, from watching you grow up. You never made yourself smaller for anyone, because you taught me not to. You modeled that. Even when you were shrinking yourself for Dad, you taught me to take up space. Tears pricked my eyes. I wish I'd learned that lesson sooner. You learned it when you needed to. Emma squeezed my arm. And now you're teaching other women. Through your work, through your story, through just existing as yourself. 6 months later, I sat in my new office at Hartwell Industries, VP of Strategic Partnerships. My name on the door. My team of 5 consultants. My projects. The French negotiation had closed successfully. The Italian partnership was in final stages. And I had 3 more companies on my list. Difficult cases, family businesses, companies that needed relationship building, not hard sells. My specialty. Patricia stopped by my office that afternoon. Catherine, do you have a minute? Of course. She sat down, looking uncharacteristically uncertain. I wanted to tell you something about the board's decision to promote Derek to CEO. I went still. We should have done more due diligence, should have verified his claims, should have interviewed the people he'd worked with on the Hawthorne deal. She met my eyes. If we had, we would have discovered your role. We would have known Derek was misrepresenting his contributions. It's not your fault. It is partially. We promoted someone based on incomplete information, and in doing so, we overlooked the person who actually did the work. She paused. I'm sorry, Catherine, for the board's oversight, for the company's failure to recognize your value until it was almost too late. Thank you, I said quietly. That means a lot. You've proven yourself 10 times over in the past year. The partnerships you've closed, the relationships you've built, you're one of our most valuable executives. After she left, I sat at my desk, looking out at the San Francisco skyline. A year and a half ago, I'd been seated by the trash cans at Derek's CEO party. Now I had my own office, my own team, my own success. I thought about Derek sometimes. Wondered if he was happy in Chicago, if he'd learned anything from losing everything. But mostly, I didn't think about him at all. I thought about my next project, my team, my daughter thriving in her new career. I thought about the life I was building, one where my work was recognized, where my contributions mattered, where I wasn't invisible. Emma called that evening. Hey, Mom, want to grab dinner? Always. How was work? Good, really good. You sound happy. I am happy. And I was. Not the uncomplicated happiness of before. Not the naive contentment of being Derek's wife, but a deeper happiness. Harder one, more real. The happiness of being myself, fully, without apology. We met at a restaurant near Emma's apartment. She was glowing, thriving in her job, dating someone new, building her life. So, she said over dessert, there's a company event next month. They're asking employees to bring family. Will you come? Of course. Fair warning, they're going to ask about my family, about you, about the divorce. What will you tell them? Emma smiled. That my mother is a VP at Hartwell Industries. That she's brilliant at building impossible partnerships. That she taught me everything about integrity and courage. My throat tightened. Emma, and if they've heard about the scandal with Dad, I'll tell them my mother told the truth when it would have been easier to stay silent. That she stood up for herself when it would have been safer to stay small. That she's the strongest person I know. I reached across the table and took her hand. Thank you, I whispered. For what? For seeing me. For believing me. For standing beside me when everything fell apart. Always, Mom. Always. Later that night, alone in my condo, I poured a glass of wine and stood at the window. The city spread out below me. Lights and possibilities and opportunities. A year and a half ago, Derek had toasted new beginnings while relegating me to the past. He'd been right about one thing. It was time for new beginnings, just not the ones he'd imagined. I raised my glass to my reflection in the window. To new beginnings, I said quietly, built on truth, on courage, on refusing to be invisible. The city lights sparkled below, and for the first time in 23 years, I felt fully, completely, authentically alive.